So there's a thing that most yoga teachers go through where you get into yoga because it helps you discover all these new things about yourself, and you meet other people who are seeing life in ways that you want to see life, and it progresses, and eventually you become a teacher and you go out into the world to do your good work, and you realize that the same politics and backstabbing and competitive energy that exists in the outside world that got you into yoga in the first place, it's in the yoga world all the same. And the yoga center owners, they aren't always examples of yoga, are they? And then there's all this pressure on us to be doing like social media campaigns and all of this stuff about how we're supposed to go about building a yoga career. And it's all basically a lie. The fact is that what is needed right now is not what we've already been doing. We need to find the new thing that people aren't already doing. And that's what we were talking about in my weekly teachers class this week. And it's basically a group of podcast listeners, yoga teachers just like you. We get together every week and have a video call, and we talk about this stuff. And it's been incredibly rewarding for all of us. And if you want to get in on it, I invite you to join us. It's the J. Brown Yoga Weekly Teachers Class. You can find it at jbrownyoga.com. Okay, this is being released on a Monday, and tomorrow is election day. And I'm not usually one for prayer. I like to think of my daily life, everything I do in my daily life as a form of prayer in one way or another. But right now, I'm actually down on my knees and I'm praying. I'm praying that a lot of people vote and that it actually does something to stem the tide of all the fear-mongering and the corruption. So if you're listening to this on Monday and you live in the United States, tomorrow, fucking vote, okay? And let's all just keep our fingers crossed and hope that all is not completely lost. Now, having said that, let me welcome you. I appreciate that you've decided to listen. This is J. Brown Yoga Talks podcast, and my name is Jay Brown. I just felt compelled to start off on that note because this week seems to me to be a very important week, and I've had like quite a bit of anxiety I've been experiencing about that, and I felt the need to talk about it. So I'm sure I'm not the only one. Like I said, let's all go vote tomorrow, and let's hold a little bit of hope. Okay, in the meantime, I do have an excellent talk to share with you today with Pedro Luna. And the way it happened was a strange convergence of events. Some of you may know that recently I have been off of social media. I have not posted anything on any social media feeds in over a month now. Actually, I had turned over my feeds to Josh for a month prior and let him do some stuff. You can look back and you see we did like a kind of Instagram campaign. We did actually build up quite a bit of followers by doing this like campaign, and he made me do all these selfie videos. You might remember I talked about it. In any case, we found that we didn't really think that was doing anything, that building followers wasn't actually translating into people really getting into my work or buying anything from me. It was just like building followers, and who those followers were was unclear. And ultimately, Josh decided he wanted to do this hiatus from social media and not post anything at all. And I have to say, the results have been very surprising. I had all kinds of emotional attachments to watching the likes and having like my friend list go up. I'm all the way up to 4,500. I'm almost up to my 5,000 friends, that kind of a mark on Facebook or something, or whatever that is. I was like working up to that. And then suddenly we're just going to stop posting anything and I'm not going to have more. I'm not going to hit my 5,000. And Josh was like pushing me. And we're like having fights about it. And ultimately, again, there's been some pretty startling almost realities about it. How much of a lie social media is. And I'm going to be writing about this and talking about this more. I might even have like another episode about it. The main takeaway is you should subscribe to my email list. Like, go to my website. You can go to the bottom of the homepage, or you can go to the sidebar, or any blog or podcast page, and subscribe. If you're not subscribed to my list and you want to like be up on all my stuff, you should just be on that list. That actually connecting through email is in many ways actual and real, as opposed to Facebook. Like, anything that's happening on Facebook in many regards is working against my purpose. So I may very well be getting off social media altogether. We haven't gotten totally there, but we're freaking close, it seems, because like I said, what we've discovered in this experiment, it's hard to deny. So, like I said, I'm going to talk about this more. But before I came to all of this, I had been thinking of it, and I had been thinking about some email that I got from someone where they were saying that when I talk about the Instagramification of yoga, it sounds like I'm talking down to them, and I'm this elitist, old fogey guy who talks down on people who are doing good things on Instagram. And then right around when that happened, a new person had jumped on my live stream subscription. Pedro jumped on my live stream subscription, and we had practiced together through my live stream, and he sent me a nice email. We had like a back and forth. He seemed like a really cool guy. And in his email, he mentioned that he had this Instagram account called Yogi Memes, and he also had been on this other podcast, and he sent me some links and stuff. And when I looked at his Instagram account, it made me laugh. And I just thought, oh, this is funny. What's this? And I thought maybe if I talked to Pedro, he could, school me a little bit about social media, or give me a different perspective about it, or at least confirm if I am just being an elitist or not. So that's why I reached out to him. We ended up connecting on a lot of different levels. He's now in my teacher's class as well, so I've been like kind of hanging out with him every week. And this was the first conversation we ever had getting to know each other. I think there's lots of great stuff in it for all of us to hear, and I'm excited for you to do so today. Before we do, let me ask you, are you someone who has to manage a studio and do the work of scheduling and class payments and accounting, and you're probably using MindBody Online and you wish there was an alternative? Well, there is, and they happen to be this week's sponsor, KarmaSoft. I've talked about KarmaSoft a lot because they are our longest standing sponsor. Rudy Senecal is a friend of mine. He's been on the podcast before. Go back and listen to the episode. I used KarmaSoft at my center when I had it for 10 years in Brooklyn. I couldn't have been happier with it. It definitely made the job easier and more efficient. So if you or someone you know is in need of that kind of assistance, some kind of software to help you get the job done, go check out KarmaSoft at karmasoftonline.com. Also, if you're digging on the podcast and you might have an inclination to hang out with me in person, I got some gigs. Fishkill, New York, November 10th. Auckland, New Zealand, November 24th to 25th. And London, January 11th through 13th. You can find out about those gigs along with the archives of this podcast and my blog and my online yoga video stuff, including the live stream subscription that brought me and Pedro together. All of that stuff can be found at jbrownyoga.com. All right, then. I think that's good. I will touch base with you on the other side, tell you a little bit more about a few things. In fact, I have a series of podcasts over the next few weeks having to do with the Ashtanga yoga community. We are bringing that conversation back up again, my friends. So I'm going to mention something about that on the other side if you want to check in with me. For now, let's go ahead and listen to this conversation I had with Pedro Luna.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, Pedro.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you pretty good, my friend. How are you?
Nice to hear you. I'm doing fantastic, man. You are punctual and on time, and that's the kind of guy I like to hang out with. So thanks for doing that.
Well, it's funny. I mean, especially when it comes to like scheduling these calls, we all have it on our calendars. And I always make a point of, sticking right to it. I usually wait till like 30 seconds in.
Yeah, man.
But not everybody's there right there when I call, but you are. So I appreciate that we both like to be where we say we're going to be when we say we're going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's like that integrity, right? I preach it to my kids all the time. I always talk about it. Just live with integrity. So if you say you're going to do something, just do it. And we talk about it all the time, and that's just how I lead by example. I try to anyway.
Well, I appreciate that. Although I think I'm going to give people more slack than you're giving them, because I don't want to define integrity just on punctuality. Because I know a lot of people who have a lot of integrity who can still be late. Because time doesn't really exist. We've just imposed it upon ourselves, really.
I know. No, that is a very good point.
But I do like what you're saying. And like I said, if I say I'm going to be somewhere at a certain time, I try to be there at that time, or I would send a note to let someone know I wasn't going to be there at that time.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
And also what I would say is when it comes to yoga teachers, I think being on time is one of your main jobs.
Yes.
If not the most important job.
Yes.
You have to show up on time to teach your class, period.
No other question about it. I struggle. Okay, so I teach a class tonight, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Locally here in South Florida where I live. And my wife gets home from work, so she has to leave on time to get here to relieve me of my 3 kids so that I can drive 30 minutes to go teach. And it's always like this constant struggle of like being there, but it's like, I gotta be there. Like I gotta get there now, So I know that feeling, man. I know that feeling.
Well, I also appreciate that description of you and your wife kind of passing the kids back and forth because, right now, normally I would be recording with you from my studio in Allentown, but I'm at home. Because my wife, she does freelance kind of merchandise styling stuff where she gets to use her sculpture making skills because she's a sculptor. Beautiful. But she gets to make a decent day rate doing it for companies like Converse and certain companies like that she gets gigs for every now and again.
Wonderful. But
they're not so wonderful in the sense that they're really unpredictable. So, she got the call for it, yesterday, and now she left today, and she's gone for 3 days.
Oh, wow. Okay, so, it's not just like a local around-town event. This is like I get on a plane or get in the car and drive.
Sometimes it's local, but this time it's away. It's not far. It's in Boston, so it's a quick jump. It's not, really far from where we are in Pennsylvania.
Gotcha.
But for me, it puts me in this precarious situation. Well, one, it kind of screwed me because this week, I have my usual workload that I have. And then when I'm not working, I do my best to be here at home being a dad so that she could have some time.
Absolutely.
I traveled quite a bit this year, especially since I left the center. Mm-hmm. I travel quite a bit. So when I'm traveling, she's here doing everything. She doesn't get any, I mean?
No break.
I always feel bad about that, right?
Yeah.
So when she gets this call to take this away gig, she will ask me, is it okay? But I could never say no.
Never. Ever.
I could never say no, it's not okay because I have an intensive this weekend, not a workshop where I've got to do a Friday night, 2 sessions on Saturday, 2 sessions on Sunday.
Oof.
It's like a teacher training module, you know what I mean? So it's really intense.
I do.
And so I'm kind of screwed because now this week, I don't just have to do my normal workload. I had to do all the stuff that she normally does.
Yep.
And then I got to do the intensive on the weekend. She's going to come back while after on that first night. So it's kind of an a weird thing where I'm not like a traditional old-fashioned guy who's like, oh, I make the money so you take care of the kids. We've never had a relationship like that.
No.
But at the same time, when I go away, she has to do more than she normally does because I'm not here to take some of it off of her. But when I go away, I have to do all the stuff that I already normally do. And then all the stuff that she normally does. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not exactly an equal situation.
It's not, and it's unfortunate. Like it never will be. My wife has like a 9-to-5 kind of job, and then I have my thing that I do, similar to all this entrepreneurial yoga thing. And trying to find balance in all of it is challenging. But it's like the modern day world. It's kind of like the world that we've evolved into, and we're just trying to find our path and do our thing. Yeah,
and the truth is, like, I fretted about it yesterday. Like I actually went into like a bit of a funk. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so screwed. I'm already tired. It's Tuesday.
I'm already tired tomorrow.
I'm already tired and it's Tuesday. I know that I've got this big intensive at the end of the week on the weekend. So I got to get ready for, you know what I mean? I got to be in the right place to hold that space for that many hours with people you haven't met. You know what I mean? It's like,
I do.
And I think sometimes my wife just thinks of it as the hours. Well, he only is teaching from this time to this time so he can just get home. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but that doesn't really take into account all the other kind of this effort and energy that goes into being prepared and being where you need to be effective at it,
Yes, I do. I know that all too well.
I know. And I'm just venting on you right now.
Let it out. Let it all out. Let all that shit out.
Well, Pedro, it's fun. And I'm doing that, I think, because one, I don't always come into contact with other fellow yoga teacher dads.
Yeah.
I guess
I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that. That's a rarity right there for sure. You know what I mean?
Do you teach it in the yoga centers right now?
I teach at a local yoga center, yes, in Delray Beach. I teach at this place called Colony Yoga, and just teach 2 classes a week. And then, so yes, I do. And then like I said, I have 3 children, and I'm the main person. Like get them on the bus, get them off the bus. Help them with the homework, pick up the other one from daycare. Well, because my wife doesn't get home till 5:30. So, yes.
What's your wife's gig?
So she's a social worker for the VA.
Oh,
so
wow.
that's what
that's
she
not
does.
Exactly like
that's an intense.
That's not an investment banker kind of salary either.
Oh man, and it's an intense job, and I appreciate her so much and all the things that she does, and I try to hold space at the home so that she gets here, and things are kind of in order for her, and we collaborate on some things with the children, and we just roll through it, man. As a yoga teacher dad,
I totally understand that. It's a thing. And again, I know a few. My friend Joe's been on the podcast, and Scott, actually, I think about it. Whenever I find them, I hone in on them.
Yeah.
Because we share something in common. And I guess the other thing, though, where we're not so in common, which is initially first of all, we've had some practices together via the live stream.
Absolutely. Via the live stream. It was wonderful. I've always wanted to like kind of do this live stream kind of thing, like in my life, like I'm aspiring to be there someday, I don't know, down the road. And I found you doing it, and I was like, wow, this is wonderful. Cause there's so many apps, that are all download, and like, all the apps, and I was like, well, who's doing it like live that you can like join in, regularly? Cause there's ones where it's like a pop-up thing, a pop-up event, but no one like consistently doing DIY. Nobody's like, you already know. I don't need to tell you. Like nobody's doing that.
Well, I really appreciate hearing you say that because honestly, I looked into it, and maybe we'll come back to this. I don't want to go here right yet. I want to get into some brass tacks, like tech stuff, maybe.
Of course.
But specifically, what you're saying, there are all these portals and kind of like apps where you can pay and they kind of do it for you. Even with podcasting, they have that stuff now too. But I'm always inclined to like see if I can educate myself and do it DIY.
Yeah.
And it comes out of this particular book I read from this guy, Douglas Rushkoff. It's called Program or Be Programmed.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
So like, I want to know how stuff's working, and you can do it. Like you just started like a YouTube thing, so I'm just using a YouTube account to do it. So I'll totally clue you in. It's all open source. I'm happy to share.
Appreciate that, brother. I really do.
Yeah, But what I think is awesome is like I don't know if this was intentional at all, and totally be honest about this, because if the answer is yes, I think it's brilliant. And if the answer is no, then it's just like, convergences and the way that the universe happens. But did you join the live stream with any idea in mind that you might be able to get on the podcast?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It was pure. Because I just thought because if it was in any way calculated, you're like, well, you know what? I really like this guy. I want to get his podcast, so I'm going to join his live stream. And like, it worked because, there was like sort of a personal connection that happened through actual practice in a way.
Yeah.
And then, we had some email exchanges. And so I got to see your Instagram account. And full confession, I had not seen your Instagram account before you sent me the email because
cool.
because I'm not really an Instagram guy.
I can tell. You've told me, and I could tell by your hiatus and your little break. And
that's why you're on. That's why you're on right now, because I started out. I was a Facebook person in earnest, and then I did Twitter in earnest. But by the time we got to Instagram, I never went.
I was out.
I never went.
You were out.
and I had an account, and I kind of have done some stuff. But in any case, you are kind of an Instagram person.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm curious, I'm curious how far apart we are in age. Do you mind talking about age? How old are you?
No, of course. I'm 33.
Okay, so we are I'm 46. So we are like a generation's
one
difference.
generation gap. Yeah.
And that is the difference between those of us who got out before Instagram and those of us who were in when Instagram happened,
100%.
And I guess my feeling is, one, I want to compliment you on it because it isn't just you doing poses or some stuff.
Mm-mm.
But it's funny. It's funny. I laughed. Scrolling through it, I got full chortles on a number of your posts. So just kudos for that. Just the ability to post something on Instagram that isn't pointless and actually made me have a good laugh.
Yes. That's the point. That's the point.
That's what Yoga Memes is about. And I like it for that reason. So I guess let's start a little bit from how you got to making that how you got to Instagram. So I heard about you on that other podcast, and I did a little research on you, and I did see like many people, you had a soul-sucking job as a debt collector. Is that right? Did I get that right?
That's right, brother. That is correct. Yeah, 9 years in debt collection. That'll suck the soul right out of you, let me tell you.
Was that like phone calls and like saying, hey, you owe us money? Like, how did that happen?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a phone room. Yeah, it was just 3 different call centers that I worked in, and just calling people and telling them to pay a bill that they didn't want to pay, and convincing them why they should pay it over paying like something else that might be more pressing, like their lights or like eating food or something like that.
And what kind of bills were you trying to make them pay?
I did everything over the time, but mainly credit cards, auto loans, student loans.
Yeah, but if they can't afford to pay it, then they can't afford to pay it. You calling them did you have to threaten them with like legal?
No, I wasn't that guy. I was always like the guy that kills more bees with honey. That was always me.
The nice
cop.
Yeah,
the nice debt collector. I was the nice yoga teaching debt collector. That's who I was. So
were you teaching yoga while you were doing that gig?
Towards the end, the last 2 years, yes. The first 7, no, but I was practicing for like half of those years, and then went to teacher training and came back and got a job, the last gig, for 2 years, collecting as I was teaching. And then there's no parallel universe between debt collecting and yoga teaching. Like, it doesn't exist.
Yes, I'm sure at a certain point, like the kinds of things that come about in a person through steady yoga practice, that job becomes more and more impossible to do.
Yeah, it was just impossible, Yes, the money was great and it was grand, and I appreciated all the great things that came along with like the money, but it wasn't like filling my soul at all. And I would just leave there like lifeless, like I got to get out of here. So I finally did. I just made the jump, and it was definitely the best decision I've ever made.
Well, it's funny because I remember when I was just out of school and I was in a not good place and I really didn't have any work. I hadn't even gotten to yoga yet. I took a job in a call room but I wasn't collecting debt. I was trying to get doctors to participate in like these phone conferences. And they actually, like the doctors got perks. Like sometimes it was actually a bit of money, or sometimes it was like a trip. Like they got stuff for doing it. So sometimes a lot of the doctors I was calling didn't mind doing them. So the real task was to get past the secretaries and get the doctor on the phone.
Oh yeah. That's always the challenge.
So I had like a couple of, like I had come out of acting school. So like I had like a couple of different voices I would employ. You know, and like
I do.
And one sounded like a doctor, and one sounded like just a really nice guy that they could relate to, like their gay friend. That was sort of like my character. And ultimately, like I did very well at first, but eventually it got kind of weird where I realized that I was taking on these kind of personas on the phone, but if any of those people were to see me what I looked like in person, they would not give me any respect at all.
Nope.
And the people I worked with, and it left me weird. And for a long time, I even to this day, don't really like talking on the phone because of that job.
Yeah, I'm in the same way. Don't call me. The only reason I answered your call is because it was scheduled.
And you know, these calls for the podcast have helped me with it a little bit, because I do have really good talks for the podcast on like a call, but it's for the podcast. It's not just phone
just
calls.
To shoot the breeze. Yeah.
So in any case, I can relate to it. And at a certain point, it became a soul sucking situation, and you had to leave. So it sounds like that for you. And
same.
Yoga became where you could go, which is sort of what happened for me too.
Yeah.
And so where were you, and what was the place that you were practicing at?
So I lived in the Chicagoland area, and I was practicing at it was a Bikram yoga studio. It was called 26 Hot, RIP. It's no longer there anymore. But it was in Glen Ellen. And I used to practice there. That was my home. Like that was my safe place, you know? And so I did that for a while, a couple of years. And actually I only went for a year, and then I went to teacher training with Bikram in California.
Ooh, you trained with Bikram in person?
Yeah, the real deal. Yeah.
So you had to come up with a big chunk of money to do that.
10 grand. Yeah, it was 10,000, like 11 grand, you know, plus you weren't working for 9 weeks. So yes, I did that, and it was wild, man. It was the greatest 9 weeks of transformation. Like it was amazing. I met the most amazing people, and that's why I live where I live in Florida now, because of a friend that I met in the teacher training. So grateful for all the experiences, but yeah, total lot of money invested up front, of course. And you're teaching yoga classes when you get back for like $50 a clip, like, or whatever it is. Like it's going to take you a while to recoup all that, but it wasn't about that for me.
What was your experience of Bikram?
I enjoyed it a lot. I thought, he was,
him as a person, not necessarily the training and the experience and all that.
Him as a person, like he's just as like. Have you ever met him before or been to any
I
of his
have
stuff?
never met him in person. No.
Okay, so all of the show that you see like on videos, or you hear the stories, and like all of that is real. Like all of that crazy shit actually happens. Like you're staying up till 3 a.m. watching movies and the Mahabharata, and he's just babbling about God only knows what. I didn't have any personal connection with him. We had 440 people in our teacher training. Okay. So I had no personal.
It wasn't like a personal relationship between you and him.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. And again, I'm a male, so definitely not. No, there's no connection going on. And, but overall the experience was a good one. I enjoyed his classes personally. They were challenging. They're funny. They're jokes from like 1970. But
did he say anything offensive while you were there?
Absolutely. And those things, I was like, I'm not cool with that. I'm like, that's not cool. Like some of those things that he would say, but he doesn't. He's from like Calcutta. Like he doesn't see it that way. And everyone was like would tell him, because like this is when people were starting to speak up. I went in the fall of 2012, right before all of the allegations and all that stuff broke. I was there. I was the training right before that. So that wasn't out in the air yet, but it was still like, dude, you're calling this girl like fat on the stage in front of 400 people. Like what? And everyone's like, Bikram, what are you doing? And I'm assuming 10 years ago, like nobody said anything to him, But like all the women and everybody was like, people were saying stuff to him, like in a
so
mass setting.
in that training, when he said stuff, people would react out loud to him.
Yeah, people would react, and then they would react, and there would be like this uncomfortable setting in the room, like in like the lecture hall. Like there would be that wave of uncomfortability for sure, and then it would kind of pass. It would just kind of pass, and people would it's just Bikram being Bikram, until the next year when all the stuff happened. They're like, oh, all the shaming and all the stuff. So.
I know, but see, that whole thing is so fucked up because.
Totally.
It's problematic though, because even you were like, he was funny,
right?
And he was entertaining.
Yep.
And that's like Trump to a lot of people. I don't know, that it's bad. Like that charismatic authoritarianism or whatever, something in us, sometimes we fall for it.
Absolutely. And I actually listened to the podcast you did with Kino, and you were talking about something about the same little things that we're talking about now, of like how oh, I liked him, but it's like, but he did these things or whatever. And like, oh, you're right though. Like, it doesn't feel good again. Like,
well,
Well,
what I would say is like, as you started in this, it's not like you cite him as your personal guru.
No.
And that's a very different, that's just a different scenario,
Sure.
I know other people who had good experiences with the people they met on their Bikram training, even though they also had problems with Bikram. And I know people who've benefited from the practice. And, I've had people on, we talked about Ghosh yoga and all this other stuff Bikram didn't invent all this stuff despite what he might have said.
Right.
But I think it's kind of a crazy thing that he can command that from people.
I know.
And he still does it today. He still does trainings today where people dump those huge chunks of cash. Yep. And it's cultish. There's cult stuff to it.
Oh, absolutely, man. We called it the yoga bubble when you were there. And I went, my friends came to visit me like halfway through. And I went to like LA and we were hanging out and I went and visited. And like while I was out there, I was like, man, I should be back in the bubble. Like I'm not supposed to be out here.
You were playing hooky.
Yeah. And I felt that feeling of like, and it was like on the weekend, like you could go do whatever you wanted, but I had that feeling of like, I got to get back to the bubble. Like I got to be in the tribe, and I got to go drink some more Kool-Aid. It was so weird. That part was a little bit cultish for sure. And then when you get out of there, you don't do anything else for 9 weeks, but see the same people in a room with in hot yoga, for 9 weeks. And then you get out of there and you're like, what is this real world? Like I got to go get a job. Like what?
Well, that's the thing about those bubbles, because if they don't, I've teaching some of those bubbles. I had a bubble of sorts for 10 years with the center, but those specifically when you go to do an intensive like that, even if it's a week or a month intensive, and you remove yourself from your normal surroundings and you put yourself in this totally bubble, as we're saying, if it doesn't in some way, if what happens in that bubble doesn't include how you're going to take what happened in that bubble out of the bubble, you're kind of screwed, because then the beautiful thing that you have, you can only have it when you're in the bubble. Yes. And if you can only have it when you're in the bubble and your life sucks when you're outside of the bubble, then the bubble actually, in my opinion, makes your life worse. Worse, because it's like a drug. Then it becomes like a drug, It's like I have to have this, I got to be in that. I can only do this. That's how I feel. At the same time, did you say that in that bubble you met your wife? I did not. No, I met my wife in Florida. So by me meeting my friend there and him living in Florida, when I moved down here, I met her at a local studio down here. We were just practicing yoga as students. I see, but the friend you met in that training was the impetus to stay in Florida? Moved down to Florida? Yes, because he lived down here. I see, and that's cool. So, and then that local center where he was is where you met your wife? Yep, right in the area, right in town. Totally. Gotcha. And it was just like a crazy, how it works, like the whole path of once you start peeling the layers of the onion back and you're embracing all these new vulnerabilities and challenging yourself and overcoming obstacles, all this shift starts to happen. And then now that's what has become your life, because that's the one you created and you wanted. So that's how I got here. And how were you, if you don't mind me asking, kind of making the rent and stuff at that time? Like you had to come up with 11 grand. Did you just have some money that you saved up from the debt collecting job, or did you have some family help, or how did you get through that period where you first do training and you can't make any, you're just trying to find opportunities to teach and you don't make no money?
Right. So I had I saved it up. I had been planning for it, so I saved it up. I didn't plan for very long, but I saved my pennies, from my debt collecting job so that I could afford to go do that. And then, when I came back, I knew. So the job that I was coming back, that I was going to get when I came back, I knew I was already going to work at this new collection place. So when I came back from training, I applied and I got the job. And these guys were making like $10,000 a month income, like for sure. And I knew these guys that were making that kind of money, and I was like, well, I'm way better than them, so I'll make more money than that. So I knew for the next couple, like however long I was going to work there, I was going to make a ton of money, and I did. And I saved most of it, and I was, paid myself back tenfold,
Yeah,
But like I said, when I started
debt collection
yoga,
pays a lot better than yoga teaching.
Oh my God, it did.
Everybody's got debt, but did you feel bad? I mean, I don't know, man. I've got a lot of credit card debt right now. But I haven't had anybody calling me because I'm making payments. But were you the guy who's calling because they're missing payments, or like? Yeah,
they were like 6 months or a year behind or something like that.
Yeah, and you're just trying to was there a way to help them, or was it just like, hey, pay up or you're screwed, or what?
It was both. It was more of the try to help you out, try to help you figure out how you can get this on track. Kind of thing. That was what it was really like. And the last 2 years was student loans, and it was way easier. Like there was all sorts of repayment plans for student loans, so you just had to get them to start making payments again. So that was like super easy, And I can relate to these people. You're like a nice
guy, so people.
Yeah, I'm a nice dude.
You were like nice to them on the phone, and maybe that was helpful.
Yeah. And I have a good phone voice, and I had, just like you were telling me about acting, and you had all these different phone voices. Man, I had so many different phone voices, I can't even tell you. I can't do them now because I'm not in that space, but I had so many.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing about the phone is like you can kind of control a conversation on the phone. There's all kinds of things you can do that I learned in that job that I don't know. Yeah. Made me question phone conversations, but. I'm curious. So, all right. So now you're in Florida.
Yes.
And you start teaching right away. You say you did another training, but there's a period of time in between. So you do the debt collection gig. You pay off your tuition from your teacher training. You recoup that. Yeah. That's smart. And you put some money in your bank. So that already puts you in a way better situation.
Way ahead. Yeah, I was way ahead. When I moved
scraping.
To Florida. Yeah, not scraping at all. Like when I moved to Florida, I had a nut to sit on, so I was just teaching yoga at the local center. I did a training when I moved down here, like you said, down in Florida, because I had nothing else to do. I'd moved down here to teach yoga. So I was like, well, I should learn more about yoga. So I did that. And then, but it was nice not having to worry about paying for things at the time. I mean, now that I have, all these other responsibilities, like, yes, I need to make an income. But then it was like, I'm just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, you're a few years out from that debt collection gig, so what you saved up's only going to go so far, right?
That's it, man. Yeah, and then you better start figuring it out.
Well, all right, so you met your wife just practicing next to her, or in that teacher training that you did there?
Just practicing next to her. We were at the Colony Hotel. It's a historic hotel in Delray Beach. And we were taking a class. It's like a live music Sunday kind of class. And we were taking a class, and we connected. And then I was just finishing training, and she was going to start the next one. So she was kind of in the bubble, in that bubble over here in Florida. And so it was just nice to connect with her. And then, we just kind of hit it off and went from there.
Yeah, I get that. I met my wife in my class, actually.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. We already had something in common that we could connect over. We had like-minded friends, and then it evolves from there.
Yeah, it does. And, it's interesting because that's somewhat controversial that I met my wife in my class.
Absolutely.
But I certainly, prior to that, had a very strict rule of, like, never dating students. Like, that was sort of drummed into me.
Yep.
And I was very much not wanting to... My yoga meant so much to me. I never wanted to do anything to mess it up.
Yeah.
I have men out there who've mistreated women or abused women. For me, it's like, how bad would that fuck it up? Like,
yeah.
It's like,
that would be just so,
I can't even fathom fucking it up like that, Like,
never.
I mean, I guess
never,
that's not like, I don't know. I don't know why someone does that or where that behavior comes from. But in any case, I at the time had this rule of never dating anybody in my class, but that wasn't so great either. Like people who weren't into yoga at all, when that was like my whole life passion, that didn't really work out that great either.
No, like where am I going to find her if she's not at the, because all I do is hang out at this yoga place. So if she's not here, like where am I going to meet her? At the gas station?
Well,
like,
it's funny you say that because I wrote a piece. It was called Ethical Imperatives and Sexually Responsible Behavior. And it was all about me trying to reckon with whether or not I could date people from my class. And I basically was saying, like, all I do is go to yoga classes and then go home. If I can't meet people at the yoga center, then, like, that means I'm lonely and celibate. And not by choice. And that was actually affecting my health. Like, I really needed partnership. I needed intimacy and touching and love in my life, you know, like all the meditating in the world wasn't, I needed that. I needed I need someone to
from
be
another.
with.
Yeah.
So in any case, if the funny thing is, in the article, I kind of made this case that it's certainly possible to be ethical about it. You know, that there's people who are unethical about it, but that there would be ways to be ethical about it. And I even suggested some. And my now wife, she, up until reading that article, thought that I was kind of like a player. Like, she thought that I, like, dated a lot of women, but I dated nobody. And she read that and she thought, oh, he's, like, actually a nice guy. And that ultimately, so that article about me trying to figure out whether it was okay is what actually led to his meeting.
Oh, wow. That's so cool, man. I told my wife on the front end, like, look, I'm a friendly guy and I have a lot of friends and they're all from like yoga studios. So they're like 80%, maybe 90% women. I'm not interested in any of them. You know, I'm not. So I just want to tell you up front, like if I give someone a hug or all that kind of stuff, like none of that means anything. Like I just have a lot of friends that, you know, that's just kind of how it goes, you know, in that space. And it's just like, there's boundaries and like, I love you. So let's do this.
Yeah. I mean, I think if your relationship and communication is solid, like
that's it, man. It's the key.
Because my wife, she knows where we stand. So that there are more women who come to my classes than men doesn't lead to problems. Of course, you know. Wow. All right. So that wasn't that many years ago then that you guys got married? No. When did you get married?
So we got married. We had our wedding reception this year, just in March of this year. Like we kind of did the legal thing, you know, a year and a half ago or whatever it was now, or was it 2 years ago? Shit, I don't even remember. Hopefully she doesn't.
You're in trouble.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to this.
You're busted.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to this. Edit it out, Jay. No, I'm just kidding, man. 2 years ago, and because our son is 18 months old, so she has two children from a prior marriage, and then now we have a son together. So I have the two stepkids who are like my kids. I mean, I raise them like they're my own, and so that was a big shift too. 10 for the oldest. She's going to be 11 this month. My daughter's going to be 11, and then my son is 7. And my baby boy is 18 months old.
So the 18 months means you're in the trenches.
I'm in the trenches. Yeah, the podcast you had about like once you got to like 4 years old with your little one, like you're like, okay, I'm kind of out of it. I'm out of it, man. I made it past, you know. And I'm in the thick of it right now. I mean, I'm in the thick of it.
Well, the only reason I'm able to be talking to you right now is because my youngest, who's 3, about to turn 4, is in preschool. She does 3 days a week. For like a couple hours, like a half day. So that's the only reason I could talk to you. If it was like last year, this couldn't happen.
No, I know. Same with me. We have our son go to it's a daycare, but it's a school kind of thing, 4 days a week, so that I can do this, so I can work. Because if not, like with an 18-month-old at home, if I'm trying to raise him at home, you know that nothing's happening. Like there's no work getting done.
No, I know. And so, but you're managing to work it out. So you got a couple of classes you get to teach, right?
Yeah, I got it all scheduled out, you know. So I teach at the center on Sunday. So my wife's here to take care of my son. And then Wednesday night, again, she's home. So that's why I can only do 2. I'd like to add another one at another place local, a little closer to my home. It just, the timing hasn't worked out yet, but I'm sure it will when it's ready. So.
Yeah, when that little one gets a little bit older, you see, time's going to open up. And
I know, more and more.
But for now, you're Mr. Mom in it, man. Yeah, that's hard work too, man. That's a hard job.
No joke. It's no joke. You know, my neighbor across the street calls me Mr. Mom, and we got a minivan. You know, it is what it is. This is my life.
With my first daughter, my wife had a job where she had health insurance for us. So I had to do like a lot of, you know, I always say like, my dad didn't change any diapers, but like I changed like at least half, if not more, with my first daughter. It is a generational thing.
Yep.
It's different than our dads or
way
my
different.
Dad.
Yeah, same here. Way different. Way different nowadays. Way different nowadays. And but I wouldn't have it any other way. I really wouldn't. I'm really grateful for the opportunities that I've had to spend with my baby boy and my other kids. Even during the summertime when there's no school, like that's a whole nother thing. 10 weeks of no school, so nobody leaving. Everyone's here all the time.
Yes, and it's just I guess when they get older, they do stuff on their own, and you don't have to tend to them all the time.
No, absolutely not. And when your daughter gets a bit older, mine's almost 11. She is like she takes care of a lot of things for me. I'm so grateful for her. Without her, it would be much more challenging.
Well, it's funny because I think I've mentioned it in a podcast interview that my oldest daughter, she like walks to school by herself now, and she's got like this like little watch that we got her so we know she's okay. And and this morning was the first time, because that just started like a few weeks ago, that since my wife was out of town, like I had to see them all off this morning. And like I watched my eldest daughter like walking down the street to go to school, and I totally got weepy, man. I just cried. I'm like, she's man. So big, and she's walking to school by herself, and it's crazy, man. It's beautiful and wonderful.
How old is she?
She's 8.
8. Okay, I thought it was 8. That's what I thought. Yeah. It's a weird thing, and I know that exact feeling that you have. Trust me.
It's crazy. I mean, one part of me is like feels like it's great, like her life's happening and she's getting older, but it was like this, she was walking off and she was on her own and she was thinking to herself, and I was like, look at that. You know what I mean? Like the wonder of like her setting about her life at age 8. It's like it's crazy. It's crazy and wonderful and magical, this whole fucking life thing.
Yes, brother.
And so, all right. So tell me, when did you start this Instagram account? And did it start with Instagram, or did you start with other social media platforms and then go to Instagram? Or where did it begin for you with your social media memes?
Sure. So I created Yogi Beams in August of 2015, and it started on Instagram. My friend and I, we were at a Bikram yoga class in Delray Beach, and it was hot as shit. And I was laying on the floor looking in the side mirror, and I was like, this would be a really funny meme of me just like laying here on the floor, like totally done, toasted, fried out. And I told him after class, like, we should create a meme account. And we had been sending memes back and forth for a long time, ever since teacher training, for like 3 years. We've been just making memes just for fun. And then I looked it on the internet, and nobody else was doing it on Instagram. And this is when Instagram was still like kind of like a baby. It'd only been around for like a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yes, like we have, like this could be awesome. Like we can make memes and make people laugh, and it'll be fun. And I was only teaching yoga at the time, so I had a whole slate of time to do nothing with. And so I just put a lot of energy into it to try to grow it and make people laugh around the globe and connect with people. And I had no idea that it would open as many doors that it has. But here we are on the phone, talking about Instagram.
That's true. We are on the phone, and that is a door that opened. And it does open some doors, but I guess I'm curious, though, because you mentioned this, you're lying on the floor and then you're thinking like, I'm in a pool of sweat, Yeah. But that wasn't your first post, was it?
No.
Because I went back to see what was your first post. And it seems like they've certainly gotten better, a little bit better. Like the early ones got like 100 likes. Yeah. And then like the more recent ones have more like a couple thousand likes,
Yeah. And also it's grown with, as the follower number goes up, obviously you should be getting more engagement and more likes. But yeah, like way back in the day, it was like Bill Belichick.
Yes, it was Bill Belichick. I even wrote it down. It was like something, but it was kind of a weird one. It was like show up for class, forget the schedule, sub for our favorite teacher. What were you thinking with that one? Do you remember?
So I remember me and my friend and I, we made that on the couch in our apartment.
If you are hearing this message, then you're listening to the free version of Jay Brown Yoga Talks. To hear the rest of our conversation, please subscribe to Podcast Premium at jbrownyoga.com/premium.